10 brutal Stoic laws to make them miss you badly, even if they lost interest. The art of absence through Stoicism. When you no longer react, they no longer control. And when you walk away without a word, that's when they start whispering your name. Most people scream louder to be remembered. The Stoic does the opposite. They go silent and become unforgettable. Loss, rejection, and emotional detachment. These are the storms that erode many people's sense of self. When someone loses interest in you, or worse, walks away like you were never there, the common response is to fight for attention, validation, or closure. But the ancient Stoic philosophers, Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, Seneca, offered a radically different approach. Rather than chase or beg, the Stoic returns inward. Instead of pleading to be remembered, the Stoic builds a life that cannot be forgotten. This is not about manipulation or games. It's about becoming so grounded, disciplined, and self-contained that your very absence generates emotional gravity. When rooted in Stoic philosophy, your response to emotional detachment becomes surgical. You don't flinch, you don't retaliate, you transcend. And that's exactly why they end up missing you, sometimes even more than you once missed them. In this video, we'll dive deep into 10 brutal Stoic laws that will make someone miss you badly, even if they've lost all interest. Not because you forced them to, but because you became someone whose silence speaks louder than their noise. 1. The law of sacred detachment. Walk away without resistance. Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. Epictetus. The first Stoic law is perhaps the hardest: detachment. When someone loses interest or pulls away, the default emotional response is anxiety, desperation, or pursuit. The Stoic responds with nothing, not out of coldness, but clarity. Stoicism teaches us that we cannot control how others feel, think, or act. We can only control how we respond. So when you walk away without trying to win them back, explain yourself, or plead, you shatter expectations. That vacuum, your absence, is a thunderclap. They expected neediness. You gave them neutrality. They expected drama. You gave them silence. And in that silence, you plant the seed of regret. 2. The law of noble stillness. Let them feel the void. He who does not react is more powerful than he who attacks. Seneca. Your presence was once predictable. Your messages, replies, compliments, all familiar stimuli. Then suddenly it stops. No explanation, no closure, just a void. This law is brutal because it requires you to trust that your absence has value. And it does. Emotional dependency works both ways. When you were consistent, they may have taken you for granted. But when that consistency vanishes, the emotional brain begins to crave the missing piece. You don't need to make a scene. You don't need to guilt trip them. The void you leave behind is enough. If they ever valued you, even a little, they will feel it. 3. The law of unshakable presence. Upgrade without announcing. Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. Marcus Aurelius. The third law strikes at the heart of Stoic self-discipline. Become harder to forget by becoming impossible to replace. Most people spiral into decline when someone loses interest in them. The Stoic does the opposite. They ascend. You don't announce your glow-up. You don't broadcast your progress. You simply evolve, quietly, consistently, and ruthlessly. Improve your body, sharpen your intellect, build your vision, deepen your character. Why does this make them miss you? Because people remember versions. If you upgrade into someone vastly more attractive, self-controlled, and emotionally centered than they knew before, the old version in their memory becomes outdated, and they begin to feel the emotional gap between what they left behind and who you've become. 4. The law of strategic silence. Say less, mean more. The more you say, the more likely you are to say something foolish. Epictetus. In the face of emotional withdrawal, silence isn't weakness, it's strategy. When someone distances themselves, the average person floods them with messages, explanations, or pleas for clarity. This overexposure becomes emotional noise. The Stoic refrains. You don't chase closure. You don't demand a conversation. You don't try to fix things with words. Instead, your silence becomes your language, and the longer you stay silent, the louder your absence becomes in their mind. The human brain hates unanswered questions. By saying less, you force them to ask more. That curiosity will one day turn into a revisit and often regret. 5. The law of emotional autonomy. Control what they can't reach. No person has the power to have everything they want, but it is in their power not to want what they don't have. Seneca. Most people try to get someone to miss them by creating jealousy, showcasing what they're doing, or pretending they've moved on. This is manipulation. The Stoic doesn't bother. Instead, you become unreachable, not physically, but emotionally. You do not flinch. You do not gossip. You do not update them. Your inner peace becomes your shield, and your sense of value no longer bends to their absence. By removing access to your emotional world, you become rare, and rarity breeds demand. When they realize they no longer affect your energy, your thoughts, or your habits, they begin to feel what you once felt: powerlessness. That reversal is Stoic vengeance, clean, quiet, and complete. 6. The law of cold peace. Appear to have let go first. Begin at once to live and count each separate day as a separate life. Seneca. In relationships, the person who appears to let go first tends to gain the upper hand emotionally, not because of games, but because they signal freedom. The Stoic doesn't fake peace, they cultivate it. You begin living. You stop waiting. You stop replaying what happened and start investing fully into the now. You adopt the discipline of presence. The more you anchor yourself in reality and stop seeking validation from the past, the more unbothered you become. They may believe they ended things, but when they see you truly at peace, without bitterness or lingering emotion, they begin to question, did I lose them, or did they lose me? 7. The law of predictable absence. Withdraw like a ritual. Don't stumble over something behind you. Seneca. One of the greatest Stoic tools is ritual withdrawal, a conscious, disciplined form of disconnection from the world to regain clarity. Apply this to emotional disconnection. Instead of reacting impulsively, treat your disappearance like a sacred ritual. You don't block them. You don't stalk them. You don't make public statements. You disappear with dignity. This isn't a tantrum. It's a pattern. When they look for signs of life, they see the same thing: silence. They stop expecting you to return because you've made your withdrawal predictable, and in that consistency, you build a quiet strength that slowly becomes intimidating and unforgettable. 8. The law of energetic shift. Replace them with purpose. If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Epictetus. You do not replace people with people. You replace them with purpose. You stop making them the center of your attention and begin pouring your energy into your mission, your body, your craft, your legacy. This is perhaps the most Stoic move of all: channel emotional suffering into creative power. The Roman emperor Marcus Aurelius governed an empire while grieving the death of his children. Seneca wrote philosophical masterpieces in exile. You can turn heartbreak into a cathedral of greatness. When your life becomes vibrant without them, they begin to miss the space they once occupied. They see they've been replaced, not by another person, but by something far more fulfilling. And that realization is far more painful than jealousy. 9. The law of timeless mystery. Let the questions haunt them. Don't explain your philosophy, embody it. Epictetus. People often want to explain why they disappeared, why they've changed, or why they're no longer interested. The Stoic doesn't explain. They embody the answer. Leave them questions. Why did they stop trying? Did I make a mistake? Are they over me? How did they become this version of themselves? Mystery creates mental loops. The more they try to figure you out, the more cognitive space you occupy. And when your transformation appears to have happened without them, they feel excluded from the story, your story. And nothing triggers nostalgia like realizing you were just a chapter in someone else's epic. 10. The law of inevitable return. Leave the door closed, but visible. Accept whatever comes to you woven in the pattern of your destiny, for what could more aptly fit your needs? Marcus Aurelius. Here's the final, most nuanced law. You don't wait for them, but you don't erase them either. You leave the metaphorical door closed. You're not chasing them, inviting them, or expecting them, but you don't deadbolt it out of bitterness either. You leave it visible, clean, and unattended. Why? Because when they return, and many do, they'll know they're the ones crossing the threshold. Not because you asked them to, but because they had to. Your only job? Be the kind of person they don't recognize anymore, but can't stop thinking about. The Stoic path to being missed. To make someone miss you isn't about playing mind games. It's not about revenge. It's about returning to yourself so powerfully that others feel the loss, not because of manipulation, but because of truth. These 10 Stoic laws are not tricks. They are philosophies rooted in discipline, silence, transformation, and inner power. They teach you to detach with grace, grow without announcement, and suffer without exhibition. And in doing so, you become someone unforgettable, not because you forced your way into their memory, but because you walked away quietly and became the kind of person who echoes in silence. You don't want them to miss the old you. You want them to miss the one they never gave a chance to know. And that is the Stoic way. Don't see this as a source of revenge, but instead a source of growth. Use this knowledge to better yourself. Don't dwell on the past or become bitter and resentful. Let go and choose growth. If they come back, you have the choice to let them back in or not. By this point, you should not care, and the decision is yours. If you found value in this video, hit that like button, subscribe for more Stoic content, and drop a comment with what hit hardest for you. Stay grounded. Until next time.